Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's going to be reviewing the Infiniti QX80 Sensory. This is a really solid value in the full-size SUV segment. Before we get in this video, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to the Tim Daly Infiniti here in Murray for giving me some time with this QX80. I'll include a link to their website in the description down below. I'll also include a link to my car buying guide. Let's get into it. Under the hood, we have a twin-turbo 3.5-liter V6 that goes through a 9-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy 16 around town and then 19 on the highway, with power outputs being 450 horsepower and then 516 pound-feet of torque. Before we move forward with this review, I do want to mention if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. So starting with the hood, you guys can see that there's not a ton happening here when it comes to design, but that's one of the things that makes a lot of luxury cars look really nice is they don't make things too crazy. Now, what is a little bit crazier turn signal indicators. You guys can see the headlights down below. The grille is all blacked out with this package. And yeah, it's definitely large, imposing, like right in your face. It's pretty crazy. And I mean, you can see the previous gen right next to the new one. Such a big change. Now around the side here, our tire wheel set up at 275 by 50 by 22 in the front and over in the rear. And you can see here with the wheels, you got the silver with the metallic gray. And I like this cut here in the fender. It looks really sharp. You guys can see here with the silver trim and the blacked out trim. And then this is cool two-tone mirror design. And then you got the blacked out pillars, fixed side steps there. And then if we take a few steps back, you can see the new design is quite a bit boxier compared to before. And this leads us to the key fob. We have our lock and unlock function. We've got the opening for the hatch, remote start, got the Infiniti logo there on the back, and we will pop it open. Now taking a look at the cargo area, you guys can see we've got this for an outlet in the back. And then we also can raise and lower the suspension here from the rear to make accessing a little bit easier. You've got all these controls here to fold down the seats and raise them up. It's all automatic, which is a nice system. This is similar in size to like a regular Escalade or a Tahoe-sized full-size SUV, if that makes sense, in terms of the space behind the third row. And yeah, when you're all done, just press this button up here. And I'll lower the hatch right back down. Now taking a look at the taillights, you guys can see pretty cool little turn signal indicator. And then I like the light bar design there. See the little four-wheel drive badge as well. But yeah, the back end I think is the area that looks most similar to the previous gen. Obviously still way different, but that's all. And popping inside, you guys can see here with the soft touch and stitching, and then same thing down below. This is cool with like the suede there as well. Oh, window control, and then this trim section here. It's pretty neat looking. And then here are the seats with this package. Pretty fancy with all of the trim here. You guys can see the little adjustment there, and then we'll pull this. That'll move the seat forward. There's a quick look at the third row. You can see it's pretty typical of most full-size SUVs in terms of the spacing, so you can fit adults back there. And it says bench seat across, so you got 3 there. And then this one is also a bench seat, as you can see. So this is an 8-seater, which is nice. Getting in's easy with the side steps and the grab handle. Got a little storage pocket here in the back. We've got our own climate zone, heated and ventilated seats with this package too. USB ports on top of that. And then headroom back here, even though it has a sunroof, it's still pretty solid. And this leads us up front. You can see again with the nice trim there, the top of the door panel, and then down below. All of our window controls here with our mirror adjustment setup. Memory seat function. We've got blind spot monitoring with the mirrors. And then you've got the cool speaker there on the headrest, the front seat. All the trim down the center. We've got all of our adjustments here on the side, including, look at that, massage seat function. That's nice. This is for like the heads-up display, for example. You can see that hold and parking brake. And then nice trim all across. The steering wheel is power adjustable. And interesting. There we go. Dramatic entrance. Now taking a look at the steering wheel, you guys can see nice trim all around. You got the contrasted stitching there, and then even around the airbag cover. Paddle shifters here on the back of the steering wheel. Bunch of practical controls here on the front, including for our depth cruise control, volume controls. Got our voice command controls as well. Then you can see the stocks here on the back. And then full digital gauge cluster here in the center, which you can scroll through and see different bits of information and systems within the vehicle. Looks pretty cool, pretty clean. 360 camera system, really good resolution with the system as well. And this is nice to have. Again, this is a full-size SUV, so you're going to want as much visibility as possible. And then as for the rest of the infotainment system, massive map view. You got the shortcut bar there at the bottom, which makes accessing everything really easy. It's quick to respond, pretty straightforward with where you go for everything. And so, yeah, I think they did a good job with this whole setup. And then we've got a physical control here for the volume down below, and again, nice trim that goes across. You can see that kind of cool trim section that goes all the way across the dash, and there's tons of soft touch. And then quickly pop into the glove box here. There you go. Good storage. And then we have another screen down below. This is like our climate control screen. Now this has haptic feedback, so you gotta like press into it quite a bit for it to work with the functions. But this is where you also change like the drive modes, for example, and then the ride height. And with the four-wheel drive system, you can go from auto to four-wheel high. So lots more adjustability with that. And then you can also set the suspension in auto mode. Got the camera button, and then the transmission select is a bunch of buttons right there. You've got this whole area with the storage, so this covers up the cup holders, and then you can see this with the wireless phone charging pad. I will say the amount of times I touch this and open it is quite often. Big center console, and then again, you got more of that suede trim there on the side, which is nice. Well, yeah, camera rear view mirror, which is cool, and then we got a big panoramic sunroof. Sorry about the background noise here, but here's our window stick. You guys can see 2025 QX80, 102,845, so quite a bit less expensive than the auto graph. Let's try it. Well, let us set off here in the QX80. This thing is massive. Heads-up display too. Oh, and I guess I'll show you guys the visibility if you didn't see my other review. It's good. It's a full-size SUV, so it's long in the back, but it's pretty easy to see out of. So, kind of talking to some people about this new QX. I'm just gonna let that do its thing. Talking to some people about this new QX80. It's kind of an interesting car. So, Infiniti made this to compete with the Navigator and with the Escalade. That's why it's at the price point that it's at, why it has the features that it has, the power and all that kind of stuff. It's just meant to destroy the Escalade and the Navigator. And I think it does a really good job in terms of being mega competitive within the segment. I mean, when it comes to ride quality, it's really good. Like the damping's good over the bumps with that air suspension, even though it has massive wheels. I'd love to see more SUVs in this luxury segment go for smaller wheels, more sidewall on the tires. I know that's not necessarily the most popular thing because of the looks, but I don't know. I think that they could do something to pull it off and again increase the luxury, increase the ride quality. But aside from that, yeah, it drives really well. It handles amazingly well. Like this is a big SUV, but it's really easy to drive. And so back onto the topic of this compared to the Escalade and the Navigator, and that's kind of what Infiniti was benchmarking. I actually don't think that that's what's ultimately going to happen in terms of buying. So I do think some people are going to jump ship from, especially Lincoln. Lincoln's kind of, I don't know what's happening to them. I think they might be going under. I don't know. Some people might jump ship from Lincoln. Cadillac, I mean, we'll see. The biggest thing with Cadillac is not that the Escalade's a nicer car. It just comes down to it's a status symbol, right? The Escalade still has that G-Wagon thing about it. And what I mean by that G-Wagon thing, where it doesn't matter how good or how bad an Escalade is, it's an Escalade, so people will buy it. So that'll be kind of a harder pull, but I think some people. However, where I do see Infiniti pulling a lot more customers from is actually Toyota. So hear me out. Toyota does not have a good full-size SUV. I know people are going to hate me for this, but hear me out. The new Sequoia full-size SUV, it sucks in the third row and it sucks behind the third row at the storage because of the solid rear axle and the hybrid system. There is not good space back there. So like in the third row, your knees are, and I push that up again, your knees are cramped up a bunch. And then you have that shelf system, and it's an absolute nightmare. So I could see Sequoia buyers jumping ship and coming to this because they want a more usable full-size luxury SUV and they want to stick with a Japanese brand. And then Lexus, Again, they don't really have a good answer. The Lexus GX, you can get that with a third row, but that's a much smaller SUV, so if you want more space, this is gonna have more space. And then the LX, same thing, it's a smaller SUV, doesn't have as much space, and so neither Toyota nor Lexus has a good answer to this. And so if you want a solid Japanese full-size luxury SUV, this is actually pretty much the only game in town when you look at it from a practicality standpoint. So yeah, I could see a bunch of people jumping ship. And then Acura doesn't even have, like, they've got the MDX, right? So Acura and Honda don't have anything. So if someone wants a bigger SUV and they're normally an Acura or Honda buyer, again, they've got to come over to Infiniti. So I think that's kind of how things are situated. And we'll pop it into the sport mode here. I always forget about the haptic feedback. It's very interesting. It takes a second to get used to it, that's for sure. Salt Lake traffic is not the worst on the planet, but boy oh boy is it getting worse. And it's quick. It's quick. It's got more than enough power, and it's got great torque, and it's got that thing where it just keeps pulling towards red line, which is interesting in a full-size SUV like this. So overall, the new QX80, really solid value in the segment. You get more features for the money with this. It's the only luxury full-size SUV that's actually practical, and when you compare it to the American competition, it beats them in a lot of ways. But again, I think that some people will buy just because they're always right. They're so dogmatic. They're always gonna buy the Cadillac. So let me know your thoughts on the new QX80, especially the Sensory package. I think this might be the sweet spot because you get a really nice interior, lots of features, and well, I mean, this saves you like 13 grand on the price of an autograph. So I don't know. I think it's worth it.